Friends, welcome to episode number 3. In this episode, we will be talking about purchase requisitions in Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation. With no further delay, let's quickly jump into today's topic.
So in today's session, we will be covering about the purchase requisition process. So starting off with the fundamental definition. So we yesterday discussed about the episode number 2, the procurement category hierarchy and procurement catalog, where we will configure the items, list of items which should be available for any requester to raise the purchase requisitions. So in today's topic, episode number 3, we are covering about the purchase requisitions, where using which we will be trying to identify the need. So what is fundamental definition for purchase requisition? First of all, PR is a global form, irrespective of the legal entity in which you are in, whether if you are using the demo data, whether you are in USMF or IMF or USSRT, irrespective of the legal entity, you will be able to have access to all the purchase requisitions which are created in your organization. And most importantly, the point to note here is purchase requisitions or internal documents. They are not external documents, because using these internal documents, purchasing department will be able to know what is the need for a specific item or service. So that's the whole idea about using purchase requisition in Dynamics 365, because purchase orders are actually your external documents using which you will be conforming to your vendors against a specific commitment to buy a product or service. So, and also the most we will be kind of toggling between the presentation and the D365 screen. So you first most important setup is like user should be tagged to a person in system administration and users form. So irrespective of whatever the user ID you use, the user has to be tagged to a person as a worker in the system. So let's quickly get back to D365 and understand this. So in Microsoft Dynamics 365, first of all, if you want to configure the users, go to system administration. I hope if the users are already created, that's well and fine. But first of all, what you need to check is whether the user has been tagged to a worker. For in this case, I have logged in myself as an admin user, administrator Contoso. So I will just check the admin user ID where my name is tagged to a person called Julia Fonterberg. So until unless this configuration is done, you will not be able to view the new button. The new button will not be enabled in your purchase requisitions. So make sure that you are tagged to a person in the system. That is the most important. And I also given the role as system administrator because I want to do the approvals and I want to access all the forms related to this business process area. That's why I've just assigned myself as system administrator. So that's the most important first setup. Second thing is we need to understand about how to create a purchase requisition and what are all the important features as far as the purchase requisition is concerned. So in order to do that, first once the user is assigned, let's go back to the procurement and sourcing module where you have a specific form called purchase requisitions. So inside purchase requisitions, you will be able to click on all purchase requisitions. So once you navigate inside all purchase requisitions, now you can see here the new button is enabled. So if the person is not tagged to the user, then the new button will be disabled. So make sure that the person is tagged to the user with which you have logged in. So now once you click on new, it opens up a dialog where you can give a name for the purchase requisition which you are raising. Let's say I'm giving the name as PR test for computer, maybe test accessories. Um, you can change the requested date and accounting date also if you want, and then simply click on OK. So this will quickly create a purchase requisition with the header level details. So now let's get into each and every field one by one. If you look at the line level header, there are fields like purchase requisition ID, which is created based on the number sequence, and then name. You can still modify the name if you want. Just this is basically ease of understanding, which is given. The provision is given for that. And you see the field name preparer is the name of the user, which we have actually tagged in the users section under system administration module. So this is the preparer who is actually preparing this purchase requisition, and by default the status of the purchase requisition will be in draft, and once we submit it for workflow it will be in interview and then approved, and then at last it will be closed once the purchase document is released. And the important point here is the requisition purpose. So we have two types of requisition purposes in D365. Let's get back to presentation. What is first of all this purpose? This purpose is the process of fulfilling a requisition demand. So the requisition demand, whatever it comes, whether it's for any office supplies or any other material, how do you want to define this fulfilling of the requisition demand need to be fulfilled? So in the procurement policies, user can control the requisition process that are available when a requisition is created for your organization. As of now, we have not started exploring about the purchasing policies. This is purchasing policies, not procurement policies. Purchasing policies, we can control it. What type of purpose we want to configure every time a user logs into the purchase requisition form. So we have two types of purchase purposes. One is consumption, another one is called replenishment. Consumption is used when you have to clearly note here when there is a demand created always fulfilled by a purchase order. So let's say you want to create a demand which always need to be fulfilled by creating a purchase order, then you should use the purpose as consumption. On the other way around, you should use a purpose as replenishment when you want the demand created to be fulfilled by either purchase orders, transfer orders, or production orders, or Kanban, any of these, then you need to use the purpose as replenishment and not consumption. So, which means the default output for the purpose type consumption is always purchase order. The default output for the purpose type replenishment can be purchase order, also can be transfer order or planned production order or Kanban, because these the type which are linked with the purpose as replenishment will be directly considered by the master scheduling. Probably we will not cover about those in this particular series. When we started working on our master planning series, I will definitely touch upon that topic. So the point to note here is to use purchase requisitions that have a purpose of replenishment. You must set up master scheduling to include requisition demand. So if you want to consider the requisition demand also, when the master planning runs and generates your planned purchase order, transfer order, production order, you need to consider the purpose type replenishment if you want the master planning to consider master scheduling to consider the same. Right. So that's the difference between the two types. One is consumption, another one is replenishment. So let's get back to the system. So if you see here, right now the field is disabled for us. By default, it has taken consumption. But in the purchasing policies, you will be able to modify the requisition purpose. And you can also configure whether you want to allow the user to change this requisition type or not. We will also see that. But at the header level, these are all the fields: requested date and accounting date. We already saw it. And you can also provide a reason. The reason code helps you to give a classification that what is the reason for raising this purchase requisition. So the approving manager will be aware of, hey, there is a new hire who need these accessories. Like that, you can provide any specific reasons so that the approving manager will be aware of what is the reason behind this specific purchase requisition. So this is all about the header session. And then we have a line session where you can add the line. So once you click on add lines, by default you can see the requester name is taken as the preparer name. We will also see how to configure multiple requester name. For example, in case of D365, you can also configure multiple requesters against a specific preparer. I can prepare the purchase requisition on someone else behalf. How do we do it? So that's the whole idea of configuring requester. As of now, I don't think any name is tagged. That's absolutely fine. And then we have buying legal entity. This buying legal entity, we can have multiple legal entities also. For example, in case of the user Julia Funderburg, she is actually tagged to multiple legal entities. So if I click on the username, it will take us to the user form where if we check the employment history, she might be hired in multiple legal entities. So that's the reason we are able to see multiple legal entities for which she is eligible to raise the purchase requisitions. So for example, if I delete some of the legal entities, then those legal entities she will not be eligible to then she will not be able to raise the purchase requisitions. You can also create a new legal entity for which you feel that he or she should be able to raise the purchase requisitions by adding the appropriate legal entities over here. Then those legal entities will also be visible in your purchase requisition form. So let me save this, go back. So now if you see, I'll just remove this line, and then once again let me add a line. So now this time if we see, I think still it is visible because this particular purchase requisition is created before making the change. Let's try to create a new purchase requisition. PR test ACC -1. I think in the new purchase requisition, then the changes may reflect. So I just created a new purchase requisition. Now let's check on the legal. Yeah, now the new purchase requisition which we created, whatever the deletion of legal entities which we did, it is reflecting over here. So now I can also create a purchase requisition for the legal entity USSI or FRRT, because the other two we have deleted from the employment history. Next thing is you have the receiving operating unit. You can also define a operating unit for this. Is actually comes from the employee master, and you can, if you want to change it, make sure that you are also again configuring it in the employee master, and you need to capture the item number. So here you may be wondering that we are able to view only these 4 items, because in the procurement catalog, the episode number 1, sorry, episode number 2, we clearly said that whatever the items configured in your catalog, only those items will be visible in your purchase requisition form. So that's the reason we are able to view only these items. Whatever is shown or hidden over there, we will not be able to view it. So let's say if I quickly get back to, I'll just remove this line. Let me quickly get back to procurement procurement catalogs. So here, if you remember, I think that entity was different. So this entity being office supplies, let me select, I'm not sure in which particular, yeah, this is the category node in which all these items are available. Let's say I just don't want the Microsoft Natural Keyboard to be available in our purchase requisition forms. Then I simply, what I need to do is I need to hide this. So now the display is no. So for C001, let me save it, and also I need to uh, yeah, okay, this is only read only mode, that is fine. Let me try to publish this. Yeah, I think now the catalog update is complete. So let me go back. Now let me go back to our purchase requisition. Now in the purchase requisition, if I add the line, I should not be able to see the C001. If I click on item number drop down, so now if you see, C02 is there, 3 is there, and 4 is there, but not 1 is there. So basically that's why we start off with procurement hierarchy and the procurement catalog. If you have not watched it, please do check out the same. And then item number, you can select the item number, and also you can also select a specific procurement category. And you can provide the quantity for which you need to raise a purchase requisition. By default, the price is fetched from the item master. If I go to the item number C002, the item number, by default it tries to, system tries to fetch the price which is available in the release product 49.95. I think that's the reason we are also getting the same price over here. But when you are raising the purchase requisition, it is not necessary to have the unit price all the time. So if you want, you can keep this, but if you want, you can also feel free to remove that. But the thing is, like, it default, it picks the price from the, it picks the price from your release products. Also you, it also picks the vendor account from the release products. If you go to item number, probably I should have showed it before also, under purchase sections, you have a vendor US111 which is configured. That's the reason we are getting the vendor over here, because this being the purchase requisition, it's not necessary to have a vendor account. You can very well remove it, right? So let's say I'm going to convert this purchase requisition directly into a purchase order. So in that case, you can actually, we have actually given header the line, so nothing else is required. Let me go to the header also. Is there anything else that I need to cover? So if I go to header, I think we have the same fields which are available over here. And one more thing is, like, you can also keep the specific purchase requisitions on hold. So once this on hold is enabled, you can provide a reason for it, an explanation why this purchase requisition is on hold. Then this purchase requisition will not be considered for processing until unless the person who is having the access, generally the procurement managers, will have access for this on hold button, though they only will be able to make changes to the purchase requisitions. Let's go back to the slide. So this is what we discussed about the purchase requisition purpose, and then user we discussed, and then we have the various statuses. So this is very important for us to understand. So talking about the header and line status, in purchase requisitions, let me go back to the screen. So in the purchase requisition, we have a header level status and also we have a line level status. The status, probably I'll just move my image. So you have a status at the line level also. So this is primarily helps you to configure workflows at the line level and also at the header level. So line approval, the lines on the purchase requisitions can be routed individually to appropriate reviewers. So you can also configure your purchase requisition line approvals to the appropriate reviewers based on the amount or based on the net amount or based on the item or category. So you can configure your workflow accordingly. So you have two workflows. One is at the header level and for the line level. And so this is the third point which we discussed right now. You can put a PR on hold. Processing of the PRs can continue only after you remove the hold by clearing the checkbox. So this is what we saw right now. So like if you look at over here, we at the header level, there is an option to keep the purchase requisition on hold. So if the purchase requisition is kept on hold, then you will not be able to process the PR irrespective of whatever the status it is. So now I have not added any vendor account as of now, but let's try to create a purchase requisition. But see, from the purchase requisition there are two routes which you can take, but I just don't want to get into it right away. So let's imagine that if we create a purchase order, once if it is approved, the purchase requisition can be directly converted into a PO, or the purchase requisition can be converted into an RFQ where you float the RFQ to multiple vendors, get the quotes, get their bids, select the appropriate vendor, and then the RFQ will be converted. The RFQ price, whatever you got, will be updated back into the PR and it gets converted into PO. So as far as the purchase requisition flow is concerned, we have two business area paths. So option number one, we are going to do in this part one video, and number two, we will be doing in the next episode, episode number 4, where we will be covering about the purchase requisition process of converting a PR into RFQ. And as we discuss in detail about the RFQ session, we will take this up. So right now we are going to directly convert this PR uh, into a PO. So let me try to capture the vendor account. Um, so because I want to convert this PR directly into a PO. So let me submit this for the workflow. So, but we also need to make sure that the workflow is activated in your purchase, procurement and sourcing workflows. I will also quickly show it to you when when the workflow is in process. So for the time being, since I am being the system admin, I'm going to reassign this and I'm going to approve this particular workflow. But make sure that the appropriate users are configured in your workflow. Probably we will have a separate series about the configuration of the workflow. Please do let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And I think this might take some time, I'm sure. But meanwhile, like I told you, if we go back to our procurement and sourcing workflows and the procurement and sourcing module, under setup, we have an option called procurement and sourcing workflows. So the procurement and sourcing workflows, make sure that the procurement requisition review, and there is a separate workflow for procurement requisition line review. These two are configured. If you check the versions, this is active, so that is completely fine. So let me close this. Let me go back to our all purchase requisitions. And so this is the purchase requisition which we created. It's in review. Let me see whether the workflow is triggered. Workflow is not yet triggered. Approval is started. So once this purchase requisition is approved, then you will be able to let me try to reassign this workflow. I'm going to reassign this workflow to admin so that I will be approving it. So let me go back. Let me select the same form. So now I'm able to approve this purchase requisition. Now I will approve this purchase requisition. Once if it is approved, the status will not be approved, because in this case we are converting directly the PR to a PO, and we have not yet configured our purchasing policy. So in the purchasing policy, we need to configure whether it has to be manually released, when all the approved purchase requisitions need to be manually released, or all the approved purchase requisitions can be automatically released. Either way, you will be able to convert a PR to a PO. So in this case specifically, we have not yet configured Okay, still it is an approved state, then it means I think we have configured. Let me check on this. Okay, you see, that's what I told you. The status have become closed. So let me go back. Let me refresh the form. Yeah, because that's why I told you the status we have not configured for the manual release of purchase requisitions. So this PR is now approved, and since it is approved, it is automatically converted into a purchase order. So how do you know? How do you know what is the purchase order reference? If you go to the purchase requisition, either on the right side corner, you can check the related documents. So either you can check the related documents here where you will have the purchase order reference, or at the line level, if you click on the line details, if you go to details section, here also you can view the purchase order number reference to it. So if you can once you click on this purchase order number, it will take you to the respective purchase order document. So in this case, the PR is directly converted into PO once it got approved, right? So how you need to change it? Let me go to setup, and then policies. We have purchasing policies. So we will discuss in detail about the purchasing policies as we progress in this procurement and sourcing series, but I just want to let you know that the purchase order creation rule here, if I check the rule, probably I will definitely take you through this purchasing policy, not now, but I just want to tell you how this purchase order got created automatically. You see, the setup which we have is automatically create purchase orders. Instead, if we have the manually create purchase orders, probably the status would have been approved and not closed. So the PR got approved and it got automatically converted into a purchase order, and the PR status changed to close. So this is what happened, right? But we will discuss about all these rules, what are these each and every aspect during our series when we talk about purchasing policies, not now. And one more thing which I want to cover as part of this particular session is, if you see, when we talked about all purchase requisitions, there is a functionality to have multiple requesters against a specific preparer. So let's say there is already a purchase requisition which we have created. If I add a line, so here you can see that under requester we have only Julia who will be able to request and prepare the purchase requisitions. Now we are going to give the privilege to Julia to request on some other else behalf. So if I go to, yeah, procurement sourcing module, setup, policies, purchase requisition permissions. So this is a form where you will be able to provide permissions to request on someone else's behalf. So there can be two views. One view is by preparer, another one is by requester. Let me keep it as preparer. Then let me filter the user Julia with which my user ID is tagged. So this is the user. So now I need to tag the requesters for whom I need to raise the purchase requisitions. So in organizations, if everybody does not have the system access, so let's say does not have a system access, I want to raise on behalf of Jody. Let's say also maybe another person, maybe Charlie is also does not have system access, and I want to raise purchase requisitions on behalf of Charlie. So let me save this. Let me go back to all purchase requisitions, and now let me click on the draft purchase requisition which we have. Let me click on add line. So now if you see, preparer still remains Julia, but I can prepare on behalf of Jody and Charlie also. So this is the whole idea of using the purchase requisition permissions in order to configure overall the list of users on whose behalf you want to raise a purchase requisition. So you can have based on the various combinations like receiving unit or buying legal entity, and make sure that the users you select should belongs to the appropriate legal entity. Otherwise, you will not be able to view those. So currently we have USMF, USSA, and FRRT. We removed certain legal entities, but you have to make sure that the appropriate legal entities are selected in the employment work history form. So let us go back to the presentation. So this is what I have written over here. Also, a worker must be granted the appropriate permissions to create a purchase requisition on behalf of someone else, right? So at a very high level, we discussed about what is a purchase requisition, what are all the types of purposes, especially from the purposes of consumption or replenishment. We will also see how to configure it in the purchase policies, maybe in the next episode. And also we understood about what is how to create a purchase requisition, get it approved, add the lines, and we also saw whatever the changes we did it in the product procurement catalog. The changes gets published. Once the catalog is published, it gets reflected in your purchase requisition form. So so that's it for today's episode. Probably in the next episode number 4, we will cover about the details of the workflow, how the peer flow is going to be like in case of purchase requisitions, and also we will talk about the demand consolidation, which is another important topic in purchase requisition.
So see you soon in episode number 4, Purchase Requisitions Part 2. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel D365 Talks or follow my profile in LinkedIn to get notified whenever I post videos related to Dynamics 365 F&O. Until then, Sriram Sivashankaran signing off.